Climbing superstars aside, Yosemite is one of the most, if not the most, iconic national parks in the United States. Yosemite features some of the world's tallest granite walls, a parade of thundering waterfalls, and colossal domes and peaks carved in part by the ferocious power of ancient glaciers and volcanoes. It teems with wildlife, from fuzzy little picas to majestic Sierra Nevada bighorn sheep. And it plays with extremes, resting at around 1,800 feet elevation at its lowest point and rocketing to more than 13,000 feet at its highest, the glacier-draped Mount Lyell. Though the framework for this park was established in 1864, when President Abraham Lincoln signed the Yosemite Grant Act, these vast lands have a much longer human history. One that you should learn before setting off for adventure. Trails, guardrails, and warning signs are located where they are for good reason, especially because so many of the park's features require travel across or near water and granite. The latter often polished to a super slick sheen even when it's dry. Still, you'd be surprised at how many people slip into the drink each year. Let common sense, and not that deep desire to strike a pose for the gram, prevail around steep drop-offs and water features. If you can, drive in as early as possible and leave your car parked until you head back out. Avoid visiting the valley during peak season. Or park outside Yosemite and use public transportation to finish your trip. Make tracks south to Wawona to ascend the granite steps alongside Chilnwalna Falls. To the west, the area surrounding the Hetchy Reservoir sees only a fraction of the valley's foot traffic but still serves up an abundance of lakes and peaks. Summertime gets all the love, but winter is a stunning time in the park if you can handle the temperatures, which routinely dip below freezing in the evenings at all elevations. While higher altitudes remain buried under the white stuff, lower elevations, and waterfalls, come to life as the snow begins to thaw, typically peaking in May. The flip side is that flooding and high water are real issues, not just in the backcountry but also right in the valley, where the Merced River sometimes overflows into meadows, roads, and even campgrounds. Out of the park's 13 campgrounds, roughly half are first come, first served. Arrive as early as possible in the morning to stake out a spot. White Wolf and Yosemite Creek campgrounds are both beautiful, quiet, and slightly off-the-beaten-path options located near Tioga Road. You don't have to break a sweat to enjoy the magic of Yosemite, especially its southern reaches. If entering via State Route 41, the very first opportunity appears at Tunnel View, where some of the park's biggest icons, Half Dome, El Capitan, and Bridalveil Fall, magically appear as you exit the darkness of its namesake too. You want to haul yourself up Half Dome along the world-famous 3-mile mist trail, which earns its name from the spray delivered by the Merced as it barrels down toward the valley floor via a series of waterfalls. Permits are required every day of the week for this hike, except when the metal cables are down. No matter when you make an attempt, take this hike very seriously. People have slipped and fallen to their death on the polished granite that makes up the steep and exposed final climb. Know and respect your own limits, and avoid the trip during wet weather or when it's in the forecast. The trails near the Hetchy Reservoir are even less traveled, except the still worthwhile jaunt around the waterfront to catch the spray from neighboring Tulalala and Wapama Falls. If you have a full day free, consider making the roughly 13.5-mile round-trip journey to the summit of Smith Peak, which offers a bird's-eye view of this remote corner of the park. The Pacific Crest Trail and John Muir Trail join forces for much of their journey through the park, except that the former heads north from Tuolumne Meadows while the latter dips south into the valley. Yosemite is one of the world's premier year-round climbing destinations, made even more famous by a recent spate of adrenaline-soaked documentaries like Free Solo, The Dawn Wall, and Valley Uprising. Not one to rest on its summertime laurels, Yosemite kicks into winter play mode as soon as the flakes start flying. Or head up Glacier Point Road to the Badger Pass ski area, California's oldest downhill resort, which offers the opportunity for skiing and tubing throughout the winter months. Strap on snowshoes or cross-country skis to make tracks along a groomed section of Glacier Point Road. or head to the Crane Flat area to pick up the relatively short trails to the Tuolumne Grove and Merced Grove of giant sequoias. Just remember that even though the trails breeze downhill, you have to hoof back up that same incline. The power of the mighty Merced is somewhat diluted as it meanders along the valley floor, making it the perfect natural lazy river. Kayaking is a great way to enjoy the park's infinite lakes, all of which are open to paddlers except Hetchy Reservoir. Block out at least a day or two to take in the natural wonders located within a short drive of the park's northern entrance at Tioga Pass. Start with a visit to Mono Lake, a body of water with a chemistry so complex that chalky, stalagmite-like towers of tufa rise from its bed. Its beauty is haunting any time of day, but the view at dusk or dawn is absolutely surreal. Finally, if you're heading west on Highway 120, make a pit stop an hour outside of the valley in Groveland, a historic town with a laid-back groove. Each spring, Yosemite's steep cliffs offer safe harbor to the world's fastest animal, the peregrine falcon, which is capable of dive-bombing its prey at nearly 200 miles per hour when on the hunt. While nesting with their chicks, however, these rapid raptors need a little peace and quiet. So the park restricts climbing and other activities near nesting sites for several months beginning each March. Rockhounds should also familiarize themselves with the park's climbing regulations. These prohibit the use of power drills and the removal of foliage while establishing new routes, and they ask that folks haul away all their gear and trash, including human waste. For big wall climbers who overnight on their routes, when finished on the rock. Anglers, rejoice, you can fish just about any body of water in Yosemite, most of them teeming with trout, among other species. When given the choice, you'll always aim for one of the glacier-carved lakes deep in the backcountry. But it wouldn't turn your nose up at the opportunity to cast into any length of the Tuolumne River, especially its dreamy Lyell Fork.